Greetings and salutations. I'm Pat626 and I regularly host Subculture Shock on Twitch and a variety of other places. I play a lot of goth, industrial, darkwave, deathrock, EBM, synthpop, and postpunk, and there's a lot of different genres and subgenres that fit this dark umbrella of ours at this point. And one that I personally enjoy is sad pop. And so I have in the virtual studio with me today probably one of the coolest sad pop bands I have heard in quite some time, Katy Needs a Life. I've got Katie May and David Bolema with me tonight. How are you folks doing?
Hello.
Hello.
Good.
Yeah,
We're
good.
I love the hat. It's
Thank
just so
you.
bright and red, and yeah.
Yeah, my friend got it from me from that gas station in Texas, Buc-ee's or whatever, because he
Okay.
said that the little guy has a flippy hat on too. So it was just kind of like an endless mirror type of thing.
Flip hatception.
Yes. I will forever live in the year 2012, the year of the flip cap.
You know what? At least you didn't take the popped collars from that as well.
No, but I did save the fanny packs as well.
Oh, there is nothing wrong with a fanny pack. Like, oh, God, get me started. Because I personally love fanny packs because it's nice to be able to just grab everything right in front of you. With backpacks, you got to reach behind you, do this weird... I'm not limber. I'm not a limber person.
Well, and like purses don't really work for like me at all. Like I don't appreciate having all of the weight on one shoulder. And like my mom and my grandma always used to carry like 20-pound purses and stuff. And I just like to keep it simple, just a nice little fanny pack with all of the things I want. It might be way too big of a parcel to be a fanny pack, but like it's like a backpack for my waist, but I love it and I'm not going to drop it. And I have so many different colors.
Yeah, and if you've ever seen Everything Everywhere All at Once, you can do a lot of damage with a fanny pack too.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh, that movie is so good.
Right? Oh, all right, forget the interview. We're just going to talk about Everything Everywhere All at Once for 45 minutes. Let's go.
I mean, for anyone out there who hasn't already seen it, I just want to, this isn't to spoil or anything, but I will say that there is a line in the movie that is, in a world where everyone has hot dogs as fingers, we just get really good with our feet. And I was crying when they said that. It is such a good movie.
Yeah. No, like it's one of those movies that I'm not going to imagine that everyone will like it, but I personally believe that everyone should watch it once.
I agree. My nephew is like a year old and he accidentally bought it for my sister. And so, and like, I don't know if she'll like it. I'm still waiting for her feedback. I think she's still trying to like choke back the fact that it was like $20 for a movie that I recommended in a chat once. But yeah, I think she'll like it. I hope she likes it.
I'll send her the $20 if she doesn't like it. Shoot. So, but for real now, hi, welcome to the show. Thanks for being on.
Thank you so much for having us.
Well, you can definitely thank. Actually, we can all thank Ken Magerman because Ken is the one that got me tipped on to Katy Needs a Life in the first place, and the world was never the same.
Ken is so much better at sharing our music than I am.
It's actually fun that we watched that movie with.
Yeah,
So,
we watched Everything Everywhere All at Once with Ken.
See, I am infinitely jealous of you living anywhere near Ken, honestly.
Oh my gosh, he's just like this presence. It's so wonderful to be around him and to work with him all the time. I am so grateful every day that he is my friend.
we need to talk as many good things about him before he comes on as possible so that when he comes in the chat after he gets off work, then we can start talking trash about him and make him think that that's all that happened.
Oh, I would never. But
It's
building him up
impossible,
for as long
honestly.
as we can, I'm happy to do that.
So, how I normally start these interviews when I'm not talking about awesome people in movies is with what I like to call the supervillain origin story. So, you all play in some of the dark music and dark music adjacent projects, and so my question for that always is, well, how did you even get into listening to this music in the first place, let alone making it?
Well,
You can have two different answers. That's allowed. There's two of you.
Yeah, I mean, do you want to start? Because you've definitely got a far more interesting backstory than I do.
I guess when I was like, I started playing music at like punk clubs when I was like 13 or 14, I think. And then went through just a bunch of stuff. Most of the people we lived in this town called Muskegon that had this like weird punk club. Gigi Allen used to live there. It's like, so I just kind of grew up there. And then from there, everybody was older. So I got into like Joy Division and The Cure and a lot of shoegaze stuff. And then I was in a band called Crash City Saints for a while. And yeah, just through knowing older folk in the music scene.
He's really playing it down. I mean, if he really got into it, then he would be like telling you about how he played. So like, I don't want to try to add more clout than I have to, but he was in a band when he was like 14. That was the backing band for like Gigi Allen when he was still around and stuff. And when David was in this band, because Gigi had passed away by that point.
They just reformed at a certain point.
Yeah, but there was still some of Gigi's poop on the drum set, so he was still there. Like for me,
How is it, by the way, that I've been doing this interview show for almost a year now, and this is, I believe, the first time someone has said the word poop on air?
I'm sorry to bring it down.
No, I'm honestly sorry no one did it before you. Thank you. Thank you for reminding people whose show they're watching.
Like my musical backstory isn't as like cool and interesting. I come from a really musical family, and so my grandma got me into piano lessons when I was really young, and my older brother was into like punk music and stuff, and he was in a bunch of bands, and I always really looked up to him. And as I got older and started to come into my own with the type of music I liked, I preferred things that were like dreamier and gazier. And I didn't know what shoegaze was until I met David, or like how the genre was defined. But I had been listening to it for a long time.
People in shoegaze bands don't know what shoegaze is.
That's fair. I mean, I started Katy Needs a Life when I was in high school because my family moved to Grand Rapids from Ann Arbor-ish, Michigan. Like I grew up in a town called Brighton. It's like, using the big city landmarks. Is Ann Arbor even a big city? What am I talking about? But the move kind of was isolating, and I didn't really meet a ton of people. I made some really good friends, but mostly just kind of hung out on my own. And I started making music that was really reflective of what I was going through at the time, and it read more like a diary entry and stuff. So I've been doing that for this entire time. It's been like 15 years that I've been working on the project. And when I lost my dad when I was like 21, a lot of the music really shifted into a lot darker of a tone. And it's just kind of stayed there because, life is heavy sometimes. And I still use this as a way of venting my real life frustrations.
And after all this time, you still need a life?
It more so, probably, Yeah. But that's kind of how it came to be. I met David because I played a show at a bar called Louis, and he was running sound that night. And before the show, I went out into the Smokers Corral and I introduced myself to him, and he was a little bit grumpy, and he was like, I do this thing called DIT sessions. Maybe you'd want to do it.
I don't think I said it as pompously as that.
He was such a mood that night. And then after I played, he ran up to the stage and was like, you need to do this thing. And I was like, okay. And then we started to really hang out a bunch. And because he was a sound tech at this venue that had all these cool shows and stuff, I really quickly became involved in this scene and started meeting people. A few years later, it formed into a full band from like a solo project. And and now it has a lot harder of a rock vibe to it, whereas before it was kind of just electronic music, very quirky electronic music.
So how have things changed now that, because your newest album released this year with Friends Like Bees, which, by the way, one of the best album titles I have heard this year.
Thank you.
How did everything change as you became a full, like you said, the sound got rockier, but beyond just the sound, like how did the writing process change? How did doing this as a full outfit as opposed to a solo project or a duo, how did that change the whole band?
It got so much better. Like writing wise, a lot of the stuff that we still play are songs that I have had written and kind of worked out for a while, but we have written some songs together, and I feel that those are our strongest compositions just because you have the influence of other players. And when the band did come together, we've had a couple of variations, but every time that I've worked with a musician, it's been somebody that I've greatly admired and greatly appreciated that they've put time and focus into the project. So
I feel the translation to the full band album from the other stuff was a lot of like experimenting a lot with all it kind of adds lots of sonic characteristics to it.
Yeah, and I remember when I was working with the recording engineer and we were like mixing everything, I just kept saying like, this is beefy, and it was like such a happy expression. I mean, there's so much more feeling behind the music, even though it's kind of scaled back from like the 100 instruments that I would play in my electronic tracks, trying to make them into this big orchestral thing that I don't know if it ever really came together. But with the players in the band, like David and Reggie and Jake and stuff, we've just really been able to take off, and the music finally sounds the way that I always wanted it to when I was originally thinking of it before putting anything down.
So this was ultimately the end goal then?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, so like throughout like the first few years of the project and stuff, I had a bassist for a little while, but then we broke up, and so he couldn't be in the band anymore. And then my brother was in the band and he played guitar, and the energy that he brought was truly an inspiration that it's like, I don't know if I want to do this by myself, because it's really intimidating and it is fun, and then it can be really unfun and stuff, and you don't really have any camaraderie there to really pick you up. And I hadn't really been in a band before. So when
I did dig your stuff before when it was just you and the keyboard and the computer, and then all of a sudden ukulele, and then like mandolin.
Yeah, it was really weird.
There's lots of like almost stand-up comedy in between.
Yeah, it's like between songs, people were wondering if I was just gonna cry or something, and it's like, no, I'm fine, but whatever. Yeah. To answer the question, though, it's just made us a stronger group, and it really has brought everything that I've ever really expected from the songs into fruition. So it's been a really, really welcomed evolution.
Now, are you still mostly handling the songwriting credits, or as you continue to grow as a band, is it becoming more of a collaborative effort?
So
you would say.
I really want it to be a lot more collaborative and stuff, just because I have so much respect for the other musicians in the band. But for the most part, I do still do a lot of the songwriting. And if we were to release something of our new stuff, then the credits would be displayed very differently, because there are other people putting influence into the music, and I might still take the credit for the lyrics because I don't really have a lot of input from the others on that stuff. But definitely in the future, the credits would be changing, because with Friends Like Bees, a lot of those songs were things that I had written and kind of already released before as electronic versions. So I wanted to give them credit for what they had added instrumentally, but we hadn't really collaborated to write anything new for that one.
And now that's changing with the new album.
With our newer stuff, like during the pandemic, we wrote a song called Listerine, which was like I wrote the kind of bass line type of melody for it and some lyrics. And then we were doing the thing that everyone was doing, where we were sending these recordings to each other and adding layer on layer on layer. And so that one really came together as like a fully collaborative type of track. And that one we're hoping, because this might be a big announcement for a live chat, but our guitarist is leaving the band so that they can pursue their own project, because our guitarist Reggie is also in Kids Ain't Nothing, and they really just want to try to do their own projects and stuff. Right. So we're trying to squeeze out a little bit more while we still have them, but there might be a pretty dramatic change in the future of what we sound like, depending on who and how we decide to move forward.
See, the type of person I am, I just imagine you like shaking Reggie upside down and shaking them violently back and forth, trying to get a couple more songs to drop out like loose change.
It's totally not like that. Yeah, we're very, very sad to see them go, because Reggie's been part of the project since we became like a full band and stuff. And they're so incredibly talented, but I couldn't be more excited for what they have coming up.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's good though. You want to see artists, part on good terms like that, because that also means that you're not necessarily saying goodbye, you're saying good luck, and who knows what the future holds.
Yeah.
I mean, being in a band is so much like being in a relationship with a bunch of people. It's so heartbreaking that they want to leave, but it's like one of those like amicable breakups types of things, where it's like it's going to be good for you. We'll be okay, because I've been doing this forever and I'll keep doing it and stuff. But what I want the most is for them to have the success that they so rightfully deserve. Sorry if that was a bit of a tirade.
No, that was good. I'm actually like, I'm going to kind of pull back away from that because I did want to talk more about the album, but it is interesting to hear, like I said, I think that as long as this is like a thanks for the musical partnership, like that's I don't know, like it's bittersweet, but I'm actually like still really happy for both bands, because that means that you get to experience change, they get to move on to the thing that they're really passionate about in this moment, and you don't want to keep someone sticking around if they're not interested.
Exactly. We just want everyone to be happy and keep experiencing growth.
So, how would you say, besides the inclusion of new members of the band, like you said that Katy Needs a Life has always been kind of the place that you pour your heart out into, would you say that even though that's been the goal from day one, that still the band, whether in terms of musicality or themes, has grown? Because like the easy answer is you always hope that the next album you make is better than the last one. But do you feel like there has been like an evolution of sound or themes or lyrics in Katy Needs a Life, both before the guys joined and then after?
So I personally think that musically we've grown quite a bit. I could probably spend a little more time on the lyrics, but I think that they're pretty strong at the same time. What do you think?
Yeah, it's definitely different. It's a lot less poppy, I guess, than it was. There's a lot less chord changes. But,
yeah, I feel like the new stuff that we're writing...
It's more driving, I guess, and darker, I guess.
It's a soundtrack of people who are finally in their 30s, you know?
As someone that just got into their 40s...
Oh, then I hope that you really like what we put out. It might be a fun reflection, and you could be like, I identify with that. And yeah, I mean, at points I feel like it slows down a little bit, like kind of how driving we can be. But then there's other stuff where we're like trying to be that punky, almost garage rock type of sound, where it's still, lyrically kind of sad, because, you look around and there's still a whole bunch of stuff going on that really needs further examination. And like everybody goes through stuff all the time. Sometimes it's just nice to know that someone is going through something that emotionally you feel that, you know?
Well, I feel like especially lately, like I'm not going to say that I wasn't feeling sad feelings before 2020, but I feel that with each passing year, at least in America, it gets harder and harder to it gets harder and harder to not at least be aware of sad things. Like you can have happy days, but there's this undercurrent of, hey, yeah, like, you know, I just had the best day of my life. There's still a there's still a global pandemic and possibly the start of World War III, but you know, it was a really good day in that.
Yeah, it's dark.
Well, and that's like when I think of like the genre tag sad pop, like that's what I think of it as. It's like, this is gonna sound so pretentious, but it's like, you know, superficially speaking, it's like real, you know, where it's like you will have this beautiful sunny day where you are prone to go out for a walk and really take it all in and stuff, but then everywhere else around you there's just this devastation happening, and that heaviness is still there even on that beautiful walk, but you're able to kind of ignore it in this little jaunty moment.
I think since all that, you wrote like right at the start of that, you wrote Listerine, which was kind of, you know, darker and sort of about what was going on. Well,
yeah, so
not
like
really about what you experienced.
Listerine is available on a compilation that was like called like Whom Hits or something. It was a little fundraiser to keep the pyramid scheme in Grand Rapids going, which I don't think that it was really having any issues, but we just were excited to be a part of a thing. And where I wrote this song, and like during the pandemic, we walked downstairs to take our dog outside, and I noticed that our little like front entryway where we share a space with our neighbor just was so strongly smelling of Listerine and stuff, and it's because it kills 99.9% of germs and stuff.
Have to wipe stuff down.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
And that just kind of resonated with me because it's like, and the chorus is like, you know, my apartment smells of Listerine, and I pray to God that I am clean. And I know outside the grass is green, but if I die now, who will remember me? And I don't know. I think that it was okay for one of the pandemic songs, because there was so much music that came out at that time, and some of it was like so amazing, and it was just cutting edge and just made you think about stuff in a different way. And then there was stuff like Listerine, where maybe it was just kind of like a song that had existed at the time, but we're trying to build on it now.
I don't know. I think that I've noticed as the pandemic went on, there's been a tendency towards more what I want to call blunt music. Lyrics not so much worrying about the incredible metaphors or even necessarily like life-changing philosophical ideas, but rather just very honestly taking snapshots of this life that we're living in right now and sharing it. And it's almost like we weren't able to see each other, so we got a lot more real in our artistic expression as our way of still being able to talk to each other.
I agree with that. I mean, there were so few instances where people felt truly inspired to reach out. Like, I know that one of the things that I had to push myself to do regularly was reach out to people and have these really long phone conversations with them just to feel like I was socializing. Otherwise, it was like all text-based communications and stuff, and that can be really difficult. And like,
we started a podcast to keep in touch during like how we started doing Katy Needs A Life podcast.
Yeah, we talked about amusement parks, and in that process I found out that there was one here in Kalamazoo, Michigan. It's like, what? But yeah, I mean, when we were doing Listerine, we definitely wanted it to be something that like got people emotional, but like hopefully in kind of an uplifting way while still being sad. I don't know, but the power of art and music and culture in that moment was so impactful, and it was so important that we create these slices of life so that, you know, people looking back in 5, 10, 20 years will be able to truly know what we went through.
Whether we want to remember it or not.
Yeah.
No, but we can't forget. I mean, it was just so much devastation everywhere, and so many people lost so many family members and friends and stuff, whether it was from, you know, like having COVID or from other reasons and stuff. Like, I know we lost a few members of our community out here from like self-harm and stuff, and it was just, it was, that was some real shit, man. I can't even start on like how blindsiding that was to the whole wide world.
Devastating is a good word.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
No, it's your interview. You go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say we can totally talk about the album again and stuff because we wrote that before any of this stuff happened. But it was weird how like when, because like we finished up the recording on With Friends Like These in November of 2019. And then we were just going through and doing the mixing and stuff throughout 2020. And I feel like it was August of 2020 that
we were supposed to do the release show like in March or April or something.
We were supposed to do, we were supposed to do the release show in like 2020 or something. The goal was to do it on my birthday, which is in January, and that did not happen. But that was before anything really shut down. We just didn't have it done. And then we got it done. We handed it off to Jason Corbett, who did a fabulous job mastering it, and that was amazing. And then sat on it for like a year, but it was weird hearing some of the songs and thinking like, this is weirdly relevant now, more so than it probably was when I wrote it. Like songs like New Year's, where it's saying that, you know, you've had a bad week, a bad month, a bad year, and then just like go and be social and stuff like that. At points, it was just kind of a weird thing to be like, you know, is this a good time to release this album?
Yeah,
if you don't want people to hear it and be like, you just wrote it because of what's happening right now. And it's like, I swear this is not just a pandemic album. Like,
you know, I get a completely different take from that, actually. My take from that is that from now on, I need to be dissecting every Katy Needs a Life song to see what it's predicting for the future.
Oh, no. I can't carry the weight of this responsibility. People will write books about me. They'll have my name etched in stone.
Well, hopefully they do the, you know, look into the context of the times and your, you know, societal standing. And
maybe.
Stuff. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't mind being worshipped as a god.
As long as it's not a Cassandra situation, I think you're okay.
Yeah. I don't know. But yeah, sorry. What do you want to know? I'm an open book, obviously.
No, this has been great so far. So you've hit on something though that I've been itching to discuss, and that's, you know, that you write a lot of sad lyrics, but you call it sad pop because, of course, there's at least the occasional uplifting chord progression in there, and this is something that I've felt for as long as I've been in the goth industrial dark music scene, is like, where is the intersection where pop is okay, where people can stomach it? Because I find that anything that sounds remotely like pop punk, some people turn their noses up, but then, you know, like Robert Smith releases another song that sounds incredibly poppy and people eat it alive.
Well, so to me, pop is like a formula. Like, it is comprised in a lot of the radio hits of mostly positive sounding tones and stuff, but to me it's like a type of formula that you use so that you've got this hook that people can return to, like the little earworm that gets stuck in their head. And
well, I do feel a lot lately that like a lot of, I guess, art music or and pop music is kind of blending together. The boundaries of what are the two, you know, are sort of blurring.
Yeah, and I think that if you went back to, you know, how like certain subgenres of rock started, there were the influences of like soul and blues and stuff, but then there were also the influences of pop music and stuff, and you can feel that in some of the earlier like goth bands and stuff, that they were writing kind of like rock music and it was like pop music because of how it would get stuck in your head, and it had not the like most minor vibe, but contextually speaking it was about, you know, sad stuff or maybe just dark stuff or like real stuff, instead of it being you know, just like I'm in love with someone and things are going great.
I feel like a lot of Cure is I'm in love with someone and things are going bad usually, but like
Yeah,
yeah.
but I mean, but like circling back to the Cure, I know who they are in like the goth scene and stuff, but I've also always viewed them as a pop band as well, which I don't want to like ruffle any feathers or anything.
No, I don't think you are. Like,
Yeah.
I think that they belong in goth clubs. I think that the intersection with goth and post punk and those things is very obvious in The Cure and Depeche Mode and stuff like that.
Yeah,
The-
New Order even. Yeah.
Yeah, the thing that is weird to me is that it seems that if it's not a big name doing that, all of a sudden you get the purists who want to come out and say, "Oh, well that's not really goth. I don't know why they're playing at a goth club."
Yeah, but the purists say that about like legitimate goth bands that come out and sound exactly like the Smiths or the Cure and stuff. Like with like or like Susie and the Banshees and stuff. Like bands that are coming out that are really reflective of those like older goth roots and stuff, where they're trying to be more pure to the sound. And even still people are like raising their noses at them and stuff just because it's new and it's not recognized. So I don't really take it personally when people are put off by our music because it doesn't fall under the strict genre rules that maybe some purists are confined by. Because I know it's not for everyone. It's like my mom doesn't like it, so it's okay if people don't like it. We just really appreciate the people who do.
So, do you think it's important for there to still be things like genre strictures and names? Because, like, you know, you heard me on my introduction. At this point, the number of genres I regularly include is like 6 names long, and I find that you know, with each passing year, I'm talking to people about other things like sad pop, death pop, cold wave, dark wave. Dark wave's been around for a while, but like, yeah, there was cold wave was another one, and like and even just like shoegaze, and for me, it's like you take shoegaze and dream pop and some of these other phrases that come out, and I'm like, nah, that just sounds like the dreamy goth music, like Love Spirals Downward and stuff that I associated with goth when I was in my early 20s, and you know, this cold wave stuff that just sounds like Joy Division, which I used to call goth, and apparently I'm supposed to call post-punk now.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to say how much importance it is to a band to define themselves by genre. But for the listeners, it's important, I think, because then they find the things that they're interested in, you
It's
know?
also like the difficulty, I guess, learning. There is a tremendous amount of genres, and it's sort of like being super correct about them is only for a very specific audience. I find if I mention like darkwave to just someone who's like, "What's your band like?" It's
Well,
you
and
know.
like we call ourselves sad pop because I don't know if it's a genre or not. It's just what we called ourselves because somebody asked once.
It is now.
Yeah, and it just made the most sense where it's like, you know, I guess we're trying to go for something. But it's really, really hard, especially when you are in the mix of something in like a project and you have to come to that point where you're posting an album and you're wondering what it's like. And for most bands, it's not like the band itself fits a genre. I mean, sometimes they do. Like, you know, obviously we talk to a lot of bands all the time where they are part of a genre and that's what they thrive in the most. But some bands are a lot more like the definition of the sounds are so all over the place based on what the influences of the players are, that when they get down to it, it's like, you know, what are we? And they just kind of define the genre based on like how they'll tag that particular album so that their audience will find them.
Yeah, defining genres or adding genre tags when you're posting an album is rough.
You know, it's just more of like a organizational tag. Like if you're a band in a filing cabinet, this is how they'll find you.
Yeah.
The Dewey Decibel
Well,
system.
and like I do it for my show, like I said, for pretty much the same reason, so I can get more people listening to it. But it's like I feel like goth could not have survived on its own without becoming like a Frankenstein's monster of various subgenres, like goth, industrial, darkwave, deathrock, EBM, synthpop, death pop, sad pop, cold wave, like all of these things I don't think could survive on their own. They need each other to really to reach the a big enough audience for everybody to thoroughly enjoy it and get into it and spread it around.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. I think that it's a competitive market when you're trying to release music to be heard, but if you are willing to collaborate or like acknowledge that these other genres are close enough that if you were on like Spotify or something like that, that it might say this is something you may like in the recommendations. And that's so true in this scene. And I think that it's fair to say that there are these really devoted followings for every genre that's out there, but you know, they can only...
Well, I feel like that was sort of the difficulty of adding genre tags, is that not necessarily that they definitely are a good thing, and the specificity is a good thing, because I suppose like if we were to try to define ourselves by like wider like indie or, you know, rock or whatever, it would be difficult.
Oh my gosh.
It's just getting the knowledge of the individual very specific genres to find the one that applies to you is difficult.
That's so true, because it's more like when you're on a search engine or something and you're trying to find keywords for things that you know you like, where it's like, I like witchy dark house music, and you just put witch dark house into whatever, and it brings up this whole genre of music that you're about to fall in love with. And if you do just look up electronic music, then you're going to be filtering through like a whole bunch of stuff that you don't like, because there's so much being released all the time.
I guess for me, I'm not saying that there's necessarily no use for genre tags. I just feel like some bands then like defend their genre tags to the death and start getting upset if other bands that don't sound exactly like them also want to call themselves that.
Oh yeah, and that's been a thing for like anytime there's like a deep scene, and it's sort of, I mean, like my uncle was in LA in the 80s punk scene, and like people policed that particular sound really heavily there, but now it's on a scale that's just, you know, global because of the internet, so, you know, people are getting a lot more heated about it.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to people trying to defend their music, I mean, it's tough, because I understand where they're coming from, because it's like their art form and they've devoted themselves to it, but a lot of times it's just kind of a humbling experience to know that people are listening to you at all, and whatever they want to call you, as long as I guess it's not completely off base, if they're like reviewing the music and they're trying to let their audience know what it is, because then you don't want a bunch of people to get mad that like your like super thrash metal album is being reviewed as a pop album or something, because then the audience that's directed there will get upset. But from like a band perspective, I might not be the most or the best like person to ask these questions, because I'm always just humbled that people are like listening to what we're doing, and I'm always really excited to see how they describe it, because for us, we've always been at a total loss.
I think that makes you the best person to ask these
Oh.
questions to. No, I'm serious, because at the end of the day, like you give me a perspective of like here's where defining your subgenres and getting into specificities is helpful, but also at the end of the day, we're just trying to make music we love for people we love that'll love us, and like that's I feel like anytime someone starts getting negative about and I will fully admit this is my opinion, just as someone that's been here for a long time. I do feel like usually when someone's getting upset that this isn't this, or like these subgenres don't belong in the larger subgenre of goth or whatever, it's usually because they're just jealous that someone's getting attention they feel like they should be getting.
That could be.
That completely makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense, and that's a very valid point. Sometimes I also feel that there's like other resentments that can go into it, where, you know, to be part of the like darkwave or goth scene and stuff. I was just talking with Azzy Bats about this yesterday during a Sounds and Shadows interview. How it's like people will be tormented just for being their unique selves and stuff, and then you have someone come in who doesn't necessarily fit the bill, and you have to kind of feel out that person and make sure that they're not some imposter that's there to make fun of you.
That's fair. And like, God, that gets into the discussion of like of dress codes and stuff, because there are like goth clubs in the country that would not let you in looking like you look right now.
No, I totally understand that.
And to a certain
club in Detroit, I had to talk my way in there before.
And to a certain extent, I get it. Like you don't want frat boys coming in just to ogle people in leather, but at the same time, too much over policing prevents the next generation from coming in.
Right. I mean, it's a weird thing, because I feel like with a lot of genres, there's just this kind of open acceptance that it's like, you know, if you go to a punk rock show or you go to a pop concert or, you know, places like that where it's like anyone can come, you can bring your mom, it's totally chill, and like everyone will just be super happy and nice and stuff. At like certain scenes and stuff, it can be a little bit more exclusive, and I know that there are a lot of really valid reasons for that type of exclusivity and stuff. But that being said, it's just, you know, like
occasionally you come across a scene that doesn't really like outsiders, or that like, I don't know. I mean, I've seen scenes that sort of look down on people. I've seen scenes that are, you know, super supportive.
Well, and I feel like today the goth scene is really open and welcoming and stuff. Like
that Sounds and Shadows community is super positive.
Sounds and Shadows is a really great community for like meeting some open-minded people and stuff. And like, I know I don't fit the bill for a lot of the venues and stuff, but that's kind of part of the thing, is that you know, when I was growing up, I was made fun of a lot for like how I dressed and looked and stuff, and so I feel that aspect of the fashion with it, and I don't necessarily abide by like dress codes anywhere, but people have been pretty open towards me.
Oh yeah, for every one club that has a dress code, you've got 5 others that are like, get your ass in here. Like,
yeah, just dance. That's all that we want, is for you to dance and be happy and stuff. And like, I don't know, it's weird, because I feel like there are reasons why this genre is a little bit more like, I don't even know how to say it, because I don't want to say anything that like oversteps the description, but you know, they try to be a little bit more exclusive and stuff, and I think that that's kind of an earned privilege for a lot of people, where it's like you've come from a place where people have been awful to you, and maybe you do have an entitlement to say like, you know, I don't want some asshole coming into this bar that's gonna like hit on my friend in a really creepy way, or make fun of us for doing our thing, or get out on the dance floor and like just start making like a mosh pit type of thing that's not welcome. Like I get that.
There's definite reasons for like having
sure.
Yeah.
And I absolutely agree with you on that. I think that this is kind of a bigger... This is the same version of what we were just talking about with the music, though, in that it's important that you be exclusive enough to define yourselves and to a certain extent to protect yourselves and to find like-minded people. But if you rely solely on that exclusivity, you run the risk of keeping out like-minded people as well. Because like when the first goth club I ever went to, I was wearing a tie-dyed shirt and khaki pants. And at this point, I've been hosting goth industrial radio programs and playing clubs for well over a decade. And like, if they had turned little Pat away, if they'd turned 15-year-old Pat away when that happened, then this wouldn't be happening right now. We wouldn't be having this charming conversation.
Yeah, it was the same for me when I was, same age, going to places. Definitely not fitting like a punk look or anything at all. But yeah, and if they turned me away, who knows, where things would have ended up.
Well, and it's just like such a community that shows that being an outside and maybe being what other people define as weird is a strength, and it's a really good thing.
Yeah, and that's the kind of thing with like, scenes in general, the music communities in general, is that on a person-to-person basis, sometimes people are exclusionary, but there's other people in that scene that are super inclusive. So,
well, and you get a chance, like you might meet some people that you'd not met, but you'll meet a majority of people that you are just so glad that you had the opportunity to meet them face to face.
I would say you guys count as that, but you can't see my face, so ha 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 ha.
Well, I mean, I've seen your pictures on Facebook. I can imagine here, but yeah, I mean, scenes in general, because like I got started, my older brother was in like a metal band or something, and so I got into the underground scene when I was like 13 or 14, going to his shows in my hometown and stuff, and like it was cool because at that time it was like my older brothers and this cool band that people really like, so I got to kind of ride on those waves for a little bit, but that pittered out when I moved away and I had to like reform kind of who I was and stuff, and it's just been this place that I can find comfort in, because it's not like a weird thing to be someone who is a little bit melancholy a little bit more of the time than most.
I think that's a good way of putting it too, is like, at the end of the day, if you're not being a shit person and you're someone who's a little bit more melancholy than most, you've probably got a home in this scene.
Yeah, I think it's really fair, because I became part of Sounds and Shadows because I bumped into Ken at a local venue one night.
And we do have to say now that Ken is in chat. I have not been saying his stuff on the screen, but this is as good a time as any to say hi, Ken.
Hi, Ken.
He would like
I love you. You're the best. You're the best.
He would like us to know he's no longer going to refer to barbecue as barbecue. It's now post pork.
Nice.
Apparently, he's going to start a Cyberstream Christian grindcore band.
Ooh.
So,
I think that all of that needs to become T-shirts right away. Yeah. So, like, I bumped into Ken at a local club called Shakespeare's. There was a show going on, I think that would have been the premise of that night. And he asked me if I wanted to write some reviews for Sounds and Shadows, just because he knew that I was into music and I was into like the dark scene and stuff. I had worked at a record store for a while where I just wrote reviews for the things that were being released, and they had to be very short and concise. So I said totally. But I wasn't the best at writing the reviews because I don't always have the most time. Then he asked me if I wanted to be on the podcast that he was starting with Colin. And I was like, for sure. And then as soon as I had kind of listened in on 2 episodes, the pandemic started, and I didn't want us to lose the momentum, because I always feel like when you have something like a podcast going and people are listening, that you're going to lose everyone by not doing it anymore. And so I asked them if they would still be down to do it, but remotely through Zoom and stuff. And that's how we started doing the videos. And it's just been the most rewarding thing in the whole wide world, because it's a really intimidating scene, you know, when you're not in the throes of it. Because I had always, you know, like, moment of truth, I've always been kind of an outsider of the scene. I haven't really ever found myself really properly fitting in anywhere. And then becoming a part of this and really being able to talk to some of the key figures in the scene today kind of shows me that, like, these are my people. These are this is the scene, and this is where we really, like, want to be and stuff. And we want to work with the people that we're finding we're respecting now. Because it's like growing up on, because, like, I always listen to an array of music, but I think that it would probably lean more towards like shoegaze and dream pop and like indie music that I had kind of grown up on, outside of like punk and like pop punk and stuff. And so when I finally started to talk to people, and I realized that it's like everyone is so incredibly nice, and they are such humble people, and I don't have to be like afraid to go up and talk to someone and ask them, you know, how they achieve this amazing look with their makeup, and know that they won't be like offended by that question thinking I'm ridiculing them or something. It's just like such a fabulous thing to have you know, like, thankfully been so welcomed into.
That's beautiful.
I ramble. I do this
No,
on the
no,
like,
that
all
was
day
not
long.
a ramble. That was heartfelt. If I have one thing to say about this, I'm going to turn into subculture therapist for a second here. But like, stop selling yourself short. You make great music. Yeah, you write great lyrics. You got a great band that's very obviously supportive of you, and you're a part of, as you described yourself, one of the best, most welcoming music communities out there right now, and are helping keeping it going with the podcast. Like, pat yourself on the back. You belong. You're good. Anybody that questions you is dumb.
Nobody seems to question me, but I you know how it is with, like, I've throughout the conversations that I've had with people, I've found that my feeling isn't unique necessarily, that people always feel this kind of imposter syndrome when they're finally welcomed in after so much time of being rejected and stuff.
Sure.
And so it's just kind of like getting my sea legs going, but I could not be happier to have finally found a community that's so great. And I am so ecstatic to see where we go from here now that you know, we've had the opportunity to really hear what is the new stuff that's coming out that we can be excited about. Because that's what Ken is all about, is like, you know, there's no point in plateauing. If there's something that you like, keep looking into it, keep finding new stuff, and keep sharing it with people that you think would like it. Because the only way to keep the scene alive is to keep its heart beating.
Agreed. 100%. And that's actually a pretty good segue for the other thing that I wanted to ask about, because you told me about this at the very beginning. While it's not just focused on goth industrial music and dark music, I was told, David, that you have a project that can help these people in these subgenres get out there a little bit more.
Oh, yeah. Run a not-for-profit production company called DIT Sessions. We just...
You said DIT Sessions?
Yes, DIT Sessions.
Okay.
Like DIT is in the opposite of do-it-yourself, do it together.
Okay, nice.
Yeah. It's... we just have bands that are touring the area come through, and they do, 3 or 4 songs in front of our... in the studio in front of our camera crew, and we put it together, sort of like Audio Trigs,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it's free.
It's free.
Yeah.
There's no charge. We don't make a dime off of it. It's like no monetization, no nothing like that. Yeah, you just
That's awesome.
Yeah,
It's a really, really cool project because what it offers bands that come through, like if you're listening and you are interested in working with us, like find DIT sessions on Facebook or on social media, or just send an email to DIT sessions or dit.sessions@gmail.com. And we'll try to work with you because what the point of it is for like local or touring bands that are in Southwest Michigan to get some extra electronic press kit stuff to use so that they can send it to whatever venue they're working at or put it on their social media page to show people.
We wanted people to have I started this in 2012, and it was at the time really hard to find. Like I was seeing all these shows in my neighborhood in these basements that had bands that were really good, but I couldn't find anything of them online. So we started doing this. I kind of wanted to give people, the experience of seeing what I was seeing, and while giving the bands something to show booking agents and the audio to like release if they want to release it, and
right?
That type of stuff.
Because before with Friends Like Bees came out, we had some like demo recordings that came out in 2016, but otherwise everything was electronic music, and that's kind of an outdated version of what it's like when you're booking Katy Needs a Life. And so in theory, like David will bring somebody in and be like, play me like the new stuff that you're most proudest of, and then you'll have this version that's a live recording that you can share and kind of get your foot in the door with the right type of lineup and stuff.
That's so beautiful.
We've kind of lucked out in getting, a lot of really good bands while they were sort of earlier on in their, like Speedy Ortiz and Radiator Hospital and Laura Stevenson. And it's been a good time.
Laura was pretty well established, but that was a really cool one. And like I said, if anyone is watching this and they're going to be in the Southwest Michigan area and they want some extra footage of like what they're doing right now, like, hit us up. We can't guarantee it depending on the scheduling and when you're going to be in town if we can make it work, but we are happy to try to make accommodations for you. It is
difficult to schedule with a whole bunch of volunteers.
Yeah.
Luckily, I have a staff of 2, so me and Jasper. So it's a little bit easier to schedule.
Yeah, it can be a whole kind of circus the day of the event, but at the end of the editing process and stuff, we try to create a really pretty video. Like one of the upcoming ones that we had is with an artist named Eric Nervous, who's a post-punk artist, and he wanted to do a session where it was like a full band session, but he was playing all the instruments. So
we had him set up in like he would set up in one spot and like do the drums, and then just next to that he would be set up with a bass, and we filmed it in a circle so that when it's cut together.
Amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it's not what we normally would do for these sessions, but that's what he wanted, and we were happy to accommodate because it seemed like a fun adventure.
Well, you two, this has been just a wonderful conversation. Like, people just making music they love in a variety of different subgenres, kind of put in a blender, and then also just doing what they can, be it Sounds and Shadows or DIT, for also making sure the community as a whole grows. And that's beautiful.
Well, thank you. We really appreciate your time tonight to let us tell you a little more about ourselves. And it's all about working together and making this grow and blossom and stuff. And I'm fairly new to the darker scenes and stuff, but I'm so happy to be here. And I promise the next time you see me, I'll have a black shirt.
Oh no, don't you dare. I'll wear a yellow shirt then. And we are happy to have you. And I really appreciate both of you appearing on the show tonight. So before I cut you loose, though, people have been watching this and being really excited about your music and your services. What are the best way? Where can I find Katy Needs a Life? Where can I find Sounds and Shadows? Where can I find DIT?
Okay, so for Katy Needs a Life, we have katyneedsalife.bandcamp.com where you can get all of our albums. We also have a lot of our stuff uploaded to your favorite streaming site, whether it be Spotify or Pandora or Deezer or Apple.
I can
iTunes.
claim that you're on Tidal because I have Tidal and I found your album on there.
It's DistroKid is the best.
Absolutely.
It's the best. And then for Sounds and Shadows, like we have a page set up on Facebook and a group set up on Facebook. We have social media outlets pretty much on every platform, but we're most active on Facebook. Our videos are posted to YouTube. I do big dumps of the podcast, like the audio versions, onto all of the streaming platforms every once in a while. So in a couple of days, you'll be seeing a lot of interviews being popped up on there. And then I'll pass the mic to you for the DIT stuff.
DIT sessions, there's a YouTube channel with all of the previous ones on it, and then there's a website, ditsessions.com. It is in dire need of a web designer. It does have everything, and our contact form, if you do want to contact us, it has, you fill in the dates are available and stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything else you all wanted to say before I wrap things up here? This has been a great time.
It's been just amazing. Thank you so much for having us, and for all of you that are watching, thank you so much for your support, and keep on listening to good music, y'all.
So for those of you that are watching live, up next we've got the after party where I'm going to start with a Katy Needs a Life song and then make a beat match mix out of that. Have no idea what I'm going to play. It's going to be fun. And I'm going to be doing that instead of art on stream. Jasper is actually going to be playing the new video game Cult of the Lamb on stream while I DJ. So that's going to be a whole lot of fun. For those of you that are watching on YouTube, well, you just heard of a bunch of YouTube stuff that you got to check out. All right. You got DIT sessions, Sounds and Shadows. Maybe I'll make a bootleg Katy Needs a Life video and put it up there. Who knows? Who knows? But have fun with it. And regardless, thanks for listening, and we will see you all next time. Bye-bye.